Welcome to Russia 1812 as Napoleon's troops sweep through the Tsar's nation. They come across a Russian rearguard who will be defending the ridge line up there. The French will be coming on this table quarter here with some of their Bavarian allies. They'll be attacking up the road. And can they dislodge the Russians? Let's find out as we have a look at the two armies. So, hello everybody and welcome to another Napoleonic Black Powder Battle Report. This time it is going to be the French versus the Russians. Now we are doing our club's spring all-dayer, so this is going to be quite a big one. So here we have the initial armies. We have 2 battalions of French infantry, each consisting of 5 regiments. We've got 5 battalions. We've got 3 battalions of line infantry and 2 of Leger. That's in each of those 2 brigades. We've also got a brigade of Bavarians, and we've got a 3rd brigade of French infantry. That's the same makeup as these. Each one also comes with it sort of comes with a battery of artillery. These are divisional assets, so they can either be positioned together or they can be put with one of the brigades. We've also got some cavalry here as well. Let's have a close up there. We've got some French heavies. We've got 2 units of cuirassiers and a unit of the carabineers. Can the carabineers do what they did in history and just run away all the time, or can they redeem themselves in this battle? And then we've got the lights. They come with some horse artillery, and we've got 3 regiments of French hussars there, so something that would make LaSalle proud, I'm sure. So this is the initial forces for the French. As you can see, it's quite a lot. Let's see what the Russians have got to go up against them. And here to face the French, we have the army of the Tsar. We've got 2 brigades, one of 4 infantry battalions, one of 3 infantry battalions. The one of 4 will be starting on the table, and the smaller one will be coming on as reinforcements. They may get a cheeky special guest appearance if one of the other battalions gets destroyed. It was supposed to be 4, but my Russian collection isn't quite as big as I thought it was, so there we go. They've got some Cossacks at the back. Now, Dan's come up with some interesting rules for the Cossacks here. I'll explain them when we get to them. They are led, of course, by General Platov. There he is with his retinue, shall we say. Now, I've got a small guard brigade here as well, with some Pavlovskis and some Prehoensk, or however it's pronounced. I can never remember how it's pronounced. They will be supported by 4 batteries of artillery, and another, that's supposed to be a full battery, but we'll see how that one goes. The Opolcheni, they will be in an advanced position in the village, and there's 2 units of light cavalry here, some hussars and mounted Jaegers, and 3 units of heavies, 2 lots of cuirassiers, and those guys at the front in the greatcoats, those are dragoons. So that's the Russian army. They have got a lot of French to contend with, so let's see how it can go. I should say as well that I am commanding the armies of the Tsar, and Dan is commanding the armies of the Emperor. So we are now deployed, and Dan is coming clutch with the tape measure because I forgot to bring one. We've got the French in the corner here. They are already making their way over they're making their way over the ford already. I forgot what it was called then. And in the distance, they can see a very thin green line of Russians. However, a large part of that green line is made up of 3 batteries of artillery. The Opolcheni, they are hiding in the village there. They are the actual defenders of that village, so they are going to have tough fighter, or as I like to call it, the priest reroll, while they're in there. Now, we'll go over Dan's rules for the Cossacks, and I have to say, I think these are actually better than the official Warlord Games rules. This is why I never get sent any freebies by them. So we've got 3 sets of woods. We've got one over there, one here, and one here. Now, the Cossacks are not going to deploy, but at the end of the first turn, I'm going to roll the dice. On a 4+, they appear. They are spotted in the trees. I roll again. On a 1 or a 2, it's this forest here. 3 or a 4, this one here. And on a 5 or a 6, that one over there. So there's a chance that they can outflank the French column, but they will give the French a turn's notice. If the woods are occupied, then obviously they can't appear in those woods, and you just have to either roll again, or they're wasted for that turn. When the Cossacks are shaken, they can be removed from play, and then from the next turn we roll for them again. Now we do have we've got a kind of a time limit on this game, but as I say, it's going to be an all-day, so we've got quite a while. I'm not sure how many turns we're going to get in, but let's find out. So we are going to start off with, I assume, the... well, actually, we'll see whether the attackers get to go first. I guess we'll roll off for it. So, Dan, would you like to roll dice? Come over here. Dan has his dice roller. I don't even have a tape measure, so that's how well prepared I am. So the French, to see if they go first, rolls a 5. Dan's using his Blood Dragon dice from Games Workshop. They are known for being weighted. And I'm going to use my Russian dice for a 3. So the French get to go first. Let's see how it goes at the end of French turn 1. So the end of French turn 1 was, pretty standard. Pretty much everyone moved straight forward. The Hussars covering the 2 sets of woods there, in case the Cossacks appear from there. The only thing really of note was that the artillery here fired over at the village. I should say we've got strategy rating 7 on all our commanders, just to keep it simple. The artillery fired at the village to try and set it on fire. It failed. And this unit of Leger, they blundered, moved backwards 2 moves, disordering them. Now, we are playing that if you interpenetrate a unit, they are disordered as well. This is from the Under Eagles to Glory pack. We will also be using the if you move twice, you shoot at -1. And we will be playing for capturing the colours as well. So that was the end of the French turn 1. Let's see how the Russians will respond. Not much movement from the Russians. In fact, they didn't move at all. They were waiting for their cavalry to come and secure their flanks before they can advance. The artillery open up. I've got a position battery here and a regular one. They fired at the blue Hussars, all missed, although 1, 2 or 3, which is pretty shocking. This battery here fired 1 dice and hit the Hussars over there for 1 hit, which wasn't saved. Now, something I didn't fire was the Opolcheny, so I shall fire them out of the village. They're also going to fire at those Hussars. Now, they are only 1 dice, and they have the bullet is a full, the bayonet a hero special rule. Just going to be a -1. I need a 5+ to hit. It is a 5, so it does hit. And it is not saved, so they take another casualty. So they have taken 2 of their 3 casualties. So, something that we need is, I've got an infantryman cavalry marker. Why does anyone make Hussar casualty markers? Sort that out, someone. But there we go, that's the end of Russian turn 1. Now we move into French turn 2. French turn 2 continued much as turn 1 did, just continuing the advance. Now Dan managed to get to the crossroads with his 1st brigade of infantry, and they fanned out into 3 columns side by side. So that's going to be quite handy for his general advance. The Hussars didn't really move. The 7th Hussars did, and they focused down on the forest. So I should say I did roll for the Cossacks last turn. I rolled a 2, so they didn't turn up. But the artillery again tried to set fire to the village. I think they're going to have to move, really, if they want to be successful. But that was the end of French turn 2. Not a huge amount happened. And we'll jump into Russian turn 2 and see basically how the artillery does. The end of the Russian movement has actually seen them moving off of the ridge and down to the bottom. This was to allow room for the next infantry brigade to come on behind them, which they did very handily. So there's still quite a strong line there, but they have advanced towards the French. We are going to cut into some artillery fire. So I've got my positional battery and just 1 regular battery of cannons there. They're both going to be firing at this end infantry battalion. So normally hitting on 4s, it's -1 for long range, +1 for firing at column. So they are hitting on 4s. That's only 1 hit, but it is a disorder, and it is -1 to the morale save. So it does go through, disordering the unit. Over on the far side, there's a single cannon shot, and they're going to fire at this infantry battalion there for 3, so that's a miss. And the Opolcheny are going to keep up their absolutely amazing sniping fire and see if they can get the 3rd point of stamina off that unit of Hussars. They are Russians, so they're going to need a 5 to hit, which they do not roll. They only roll a 3. So that's the end of the Russian shooting. I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty happy with that, I think. That could have been a hell of a lot worse. But there's 1 casualty and a disorder on this infantry battalion. Let's see how it goes for French turn 3. Breaking back into Russian turn 2, I forgot to roll for the Cossacks. So they arrive on a 3+ this turn, which they do, it's a 4. So which woods do they appear on? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 6 over there. They rolled a 1 or a 2. So they start in these woods over here, and they announce their arrival with a cannon shot. Can I borrow your tape measure, please, Dan? I may be out of range, to be honest. They've got the Santa cannon with them, of course. Dan knows the power and fury of the Santa cannon all too well. But they are only 24-inch range. They're well out of range. So that's the Cossacks will be appearing in this corner in my next turn. General Dan has decided not to mess around. He's sending this battalion on the crossroads straight into the advancing Russians. He's going to need at least 2 turns for this, but he is on a road and he is French in column. And on a 5, that's absolutely going to be low enough. Now, the battalion next to them are not on the road, but with a roll that low, they're going to easily have enough to get in and support the French. So we'll cut back in after we've moved them into contact. So they've moved in there, and the battalion, the second battalion, is going to be in support on the flank. Dan's just trying to move this unit of Leger, but unfortunately he rolled too high on his roll. What's next, Dan?
The 3 line will advance up the road.
Yep.
If they get 3 moves, they'll stop.
Okay.
Support.
So he wants to roll as low as possible here. An 8 is not as low as possible, but it's still a move. So he gets to move probably up to the crossroads. The French infantry have gone in, and the Russians get to deliver their closing fire. The French didn't do a huge amount in that turn again, just shuffled around. The Bavarians showed up, so we've got the start of the Bavarian brigade there. But as it is, this is where the action is the heaviest. It's with the close combat. Now, the Russians get to do their closing fire. They don't suffer -1, but they don't get the +1 for short range. So it kind of balances out. So I need 4s. Obviously, a 6 is ideal. And there is a 6, a 4 and a 6 in fact. So that's 2 saving throws of 3+. The French are in column of attack. But one of those shots goes through, and they take a point of damage and are disordered. With that, it's now up to Dan to roll his close combat attacks. He did charge. He's normally hitting on 4s, +1 for charging, -1 for disorder, but he's still got a mighty 4 hits there. That's a little bit scary. So I will come back with my saving throws in a bit. The Russians attacking back, hitting on 4s. Yeah, that's terrible. They do have Tough Fighter, so they can re-roll one of those, luckily, and they get another hit. So it's 2 saving throws of 3+ for Dan. Makes 1. And it's 4 saving throws of 4+ for the Ruskies. Oh, try that one again. So I passed 3, so it's going to come down to who's got the most supports. Now, this is when I talk in the videos about static combat rares and why it's so important. We've both inflicted 1 casualty each. I was a little bit lucky, to be honest, in my saving throws there. Probably should have done 2. But now it goes down to the supports. So Dan has 1 support to his flank. I have a support to my flank. I also have a support to my rear. So I actually win that combat. Now Dan needs to do a break test because he has lost that combat. And on a 6, he will fall back 1 move and become disordered. So the Russians there, fighting downhill, managed to see off one of those French battalions. The French have fallen back along the road, and I have decided to follow up and stay in contact with them. Now, this is... I'm not sure whether it's a good idea or not. I think it is, but it may turn out to bite me in the bum. The reason being, these guys are now very isolated. However, if I'd let the French go, the disorder would have come off on their turn. So if I charge them, then they would no longer be disordered. Now they currently are. It does mean, however, that this unit here is rather out behind them, but I'm hoping to be able to use an initiative move to move up, support this unit, and then these 2 units can use initiative to charge there. The troops on the road, they've still got a little bit of movement as well, so hopefully it's going to work out okay for me. Let's find out in Russian turn 3. Oh, yeah. Having just checked the rules, the Russians are lacking initiative. I thought they might be, but I just wasn't 100% sure. So this might be a particularly bad move. Let's find out. Now, I am going to try and charge this unit into the French here. Now, I do get +1 to my command rolls when I'm trying to charge. So this is going to be an 8. Oh, God, please. Oh. So they managed to charge in. There we go. Good Lord. Whew. They do have a catch down. The French will get closing fire there. Pop him there for now. So, the second move that I care most about is this one here. They're going to move up to support the unit down the road. Now, these are also on an 8 because they're on the road. So, they have all... They have rolled an 8 as well. I am living living very dangerously here. This is the Voie Sacrée, clearly. So, right, and now I'm going to try and move this unit forward just to make sure they're in support range. Well, again. A 9, so that's not going to work. That's the end of his orders. So I'm now going to change my dice because I'm superstitious like that. And this commander is going to order his troops to this unit here to move down the road to support them to the flank, whilst the 2nd Battalion supports them to the rear. That's a 7. Now they're on the road, so that would have been a 9 I needed there. So that was fairly easy. Nope. So I'll move them down there. I'll sort that out in a bit. These guys supporting to the rear. I'm going to pop down the camera and I'm going to come back after I've finished the moving. So that's it for that turn. I rolled to bring my light cavalry brigade on here, but they fail. They rolled an 8. And the Cossacks, they rolled to unmask the Santa Cannon. They rolled an 8 as well. So plenty of 8s all around. I can't complain too much. I got them where I needed them. I'm going to do some artillery fire. I'm going to fire the positional battery and the regular battery. They're going to fire at the blue hussars over there. I believe they are the 3rd hussars. Let's see. I need 5s because I'm at long range. 666. All right. Have a piece of that. They're finally ranged in. They are all saved, but they are mega disrupted. So you can only disorder them once, unfortunately. And this cannon battery here is going to fire across the plain at those hussars over there. I think they're the 1st hussars. I'm going to fire at them. I'm going to need a 5+. Let's see. Oh, it was looking to be a 6, but then changed his mind. The Opolcheni, they're going to do the same thing. They need a 5 as well. They get a 2 as well. So that's it for the shooting. Now we're going to go straight into the closing fire and the French combat. Let's do this one, the new combat first. So that's this one here. I charge down the hill, and the French get 3 shots as I come in. They do get 1. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dan. He's very honest, isn't he? So he gets a 5, and it is saved. So I'm not disordered. So that's huge. Now I'm going to roll first because I charged. So 6 dice. Hitting on 3s this time because I'm the aggressor. Well, it's a little bit better, but not much. I am still a tough fighter. And that one does count. So that's 4 hits on the French. The French attacks back, hitting on a 4. Oh, no hits and no tough fighter for them. So it's 4 saves of a 3+. They are in their column of attack, though. So I save them all, but once again, I've got 2 supports, 1 to the flank, 1 to the rear. So it's a break test for the French. And a 7, they carry on fighting. Now we go to the continuing combat from last turn. Now the Russians won, so they're hitting on a 3. I'll roll my dice first. Oh dear, just as well. I am a tough fighter. Look at that, absolutely nothing wasted there. Typical Soviet efficiency, although I'm not Soviets, am I yet? Now, because the French are disordered, they are hitting me on a -1, so they're hitting on 5s. 4, not bad though, 2 hits. Yeah, still 2 hits though. So the French are no longer in their column of attack, so they're now saving on a 4+. Oh, this is good effort though. And the Russians are saving on a 4+2. Oh, 2 of theirs go through. So now we go to the combat res once again. The Russians have inflicted 1, which shakes the French. The Russians have taken 2, which doesn't shake them. But they are supported to the rear due to a very lucky dice roll. So that means that it is a break test for the French. The Russians have taken 3 casualties, but being Ruskies, they have a stamina of 4. So the French need to do their break test, and just popping another counter on there. This is going to be a -1 because they are disordered. So that's a 7. They carry on fighting as well. So an uneventful, well, not an uneventful turn, but an inconclusive turn there for the Russians. Let's see how the French Empire can strike back. Well, that was some move by the French. By the Bavarians. After a CNC inspired 1-1, they zoomed up the road and have helped to get into the thick of the fighting. Dan's French brigade, the second one, has come up to reinforce these guys. Looking like my gamble really hasn't paid off, I needed to break through last turn, really. So we've got the fight to do here. Now, luckily, I am being hit on 6s and hitting back on 3s. So hopefully it won't make...
the win if it was a draw.
Oh, no, I don't. No, I don't. That's a good point. I thought I won that one. So, yes, I'm hitting on 4s. But because Dan is shaken and disordered, then he's hitting me on 6s. So it's his turn, so he gets to roll first. That's a cock dice, yeah. Roll that one again. Nope, none. And 4s from the Rushkies. They are tough fighters. They are tough fighters in the box. Yes, they are. For 4 hits there. So 1 goes through. Now let's have a look at the static combat res and how has it changed. Well, Dan is now supported. He's got no casualties, but he's supported to the rear and both flank. I cause a casualty, and I'm supported to my rear, so I actually lose that combat. So again, the static res comes in and makes the difference there. On a 9, they carry on fighting. These Russians, they don't go down so easy. Now we've got the fight over here. The Russians are hitting on a 3 here. The French will be on a 4. So Dan's turn, so he gets to roll first. So not bad. 3 hits there. It's pretty average. The Rushkies attacking back. Oh, they're angry. Oh, they're really angry. 5 hits. Now we're both saving on 4+.
Why not retain my save?
It's only the first round of combat. So the Rushkies, let's try and put them in the basket. 1 goes through.
2 go through.
And 2 go through for the French. Now the Rushkies are still supported to the flank and the rear, so they win that combat. The French aren't shaken though, so that's one thing. Dan's wandering off to get a casualty marker. Now he was asking there about the French column of attack. Do you get to keep your formation bonus? Now in the Clash of Eagles rules, it does state that it's only for the first round of combat, and that's kind of goes with how people think the column of attack may have worked. Is that they actually then began to deploy out into a line. That's certainly how it was at Waterloo, when the old guard were getting absolutely flensed by the guard who were attacking. And I need to put an extra one in there at some point. But the French lost that combat, so it's 2d6. No minuses on this one. It's a 9, so the fight continues. So the battle in the middle of the field, I think the Russians are going to lose that eventually. But the one over here, man, should be winning this one, really. Let's see if the Russian cavalry can turn up and maybe make the difference. Well, it had to happen eventually after some terrible command rolling. The Cossacks blundered and fled the table, so they've gone back into recycling. And the battalion that was on the road here were ordered to support to the flank. They blundered, turned left, and smashed through these 2 units, disordering them as well. So that's the end of that turn, really. An absolute disaster for the Russians. But we've got a bit of shooting to do. The cavalry came on, so it's not necessarily the end of the world. So we've got the position battery and the regular battery firing at the hussars. I'm rolling them all together because there's no difference. It's all 5s to hit. So that's a 6, which is a disorder. And it's going to be -1 to their save. So 1. So are they, is this the first time they've been wounded? Yep. And then over on this flank, we've got to fire at those hussars over there. Now, because this battalion blundered in front of them, they're now shooting over their own troops. They need a 6 to hit the hussars, which they don't do. They would have done had the blundered troops not gone in front of them. And the Opolcheny, they need a 5. They get a 4 as well. So no good there. Well, not great, although I'm happy with the hit and the disorder on those hussars. Let's carry on with the combats. Let's do this one here first, because I might win this one. So it's my turn. I won the last round of combat, didn't I believe?
Yeah, because you had the support.
Yep. So hitting on 3s. I am a tough fighter. I am, for 6 hits. The French attacking back.
4, strike me.
4. 3 hits. So do you want to do your saves? So 3 go through.
So 2 extras.
And I'm saving on a 4+. So 1 goes through. So due to my Russianness, I am still not shaken. That's a victory for me. And -3 to this roll takes down to a 4. So the unit explodes. Do I capture the Fanian? I do on a 6. Oh!
So I've got 2 excess.
I thought you had 3 excess.
No,
oh, right. Okay.
Shake me and then 2.
Oh, see, I had to capture the colour as well, but unfortunately they didn't explode, so they just fall back 2 moves. That is going to disrupt a whole host of French units now, so it's not the end of the world. Well, after Dan's crying, the unit has moved 2 moves back there, and they've gone on. So now we're going to do the fight in the centre. Now, Dan won this last time, but he is shaken and disordered, so he's now hitting me on a 5+. So 6 dice hitting on 5s. That's 1 hit. Save of 4+. I am now shaken. Oh dear. But I'm not shaken yet, so I'm hitting back on a 4+ as well. I am a tough fighter. A tough hombre. Not that tough. So only 3 hits. Now I need Dan to fail all of these if I'm going to have a chance of winning this combat. He fails 1, so nope, that's not going to be enough. So I failed. How many did I fail then? Just 1, wasn't it? But Dan has 3 supports. I only have 1 support, so I'm taking this test. No minuses, but it's still not great. For a 6, I drop back 1 move.
I'm going to lose my sword.
Well, now Dan gets to decide what he wants to do. I'm going to disorder this unit by breaking through them. This is a rule from the Through Eagles to Glory, but I will take it off at the end of my turn. So it's up to Dan whether he wants to follow up into that unit with his. Oh yes, he can't. Yes, so that's fine. We'll be back after we've cleared all that up. So having checked the rules, because it's been a while since we've played, then the units have fallen back. This one was disordered and it's fall back. These were as well, because the unit went through them, as was this one. But because it's the Russian turn, at the end of the Russian turn, they all come off. This unit can't follow up because it's shaken. So these 3 units are going to remain disordered until the end of the French turn. But because these were fighting in combat, it comes off when they leave combat, which is what's happened now. The Russians have retreated. So that's the end of Russian turn 4. We're going to move into French turn 5. Let's see if Dan's reserves can start piling through. There's a lot of Bavarians there. Let's see how they can do it. It's not until you play an army without it that you appreciate how important having initiative is. And Dan's charged in with this column here into this battalion, using his initiative move. Now, there was a little bit of shooting. This disordered French battalion fired at the Russians there. 6 to hit, but it was saved. But it did disorder the unit. So we've got some closing fire to do here. Now, I'm going to say that not all of the unit can closing fire. I'm just going to do 2 shots here. They need 4s for nothing. Should I have done that extra one? No, that would have only been a hit. At least it wasn't a disorder. That would have been very upsetting. But so Dan gets his 6 attacks. Now he's hitting me on a 3. He's going to be saving on a 3 as well. He should be in a good position here. Go on, Dan, you can get it in the tray. There you go. So that's 6 hits there. The Russians fighting back, hitting on 4s. They are tough fighters. Oh, only 2 hits. Now Dan's saving on a 3+. He saves them both. I'm saving on a 4+. 3 go through. Now, that's not good for me. I lose that combat, but I am not shaken, so it's just a straight roll. I have a 5 and a 6, so we carry on fighting. So that's the end of that turn. Not a huge amount happened. A lot of French disorder is going to come off, though. And next turn, I'm going to have to see if I can put it back on again, because it's getting a little bit dicey for the Russians here. Well, there was a bit of jockeying around in the Russian position. I managed to get some units off the road and to back up this unit here. They do only have 1 casualty until they're shaken, though, so it might be reinforcing failure, which is not a very good idea. The Hussars decided not to move, but who did arrive is my next unit of Cossacks, and they appeared in the woods over there. The Santa Cannon announced their arrival with 2 shots, a 1 and a 3. So, unusually pathetic for the Santa Cannon. It normally slaughters Frenchmen in their absolute droves. So we've got a little bit more artillery fire to do. We've got this battery and the position battery. As always, they're going to open the firing on those Hussars over there. Are they going to do anything? They're going to do... Nope, nothing. And then these guys are going to fire at the Hussars on the hill over there, needing a 6. No. The Opolcheni are going to fire needing a 5. Nope, they only get a 3. And this battalion here, I'm going to have 2 shots back from there because they are blocked by their own men. They're going to fire back at those guys. They're going to need 6s to hit. Oh, and it's a 6. And it goes through. Oh, the bayonet is the bullet is a hero for that Russian battalion. So that's the rest of that's the end of the shooting. I've just mentioned to Dan, we've not actually taken a single unit off yet. We've been playing now for, what, 10 turns? And, not a single unit has broken yet. We've got a few shaken, but nothing broken. So it just goes to show that even without us doing the interpenetration moves, you can still, get those reserves in place where you need them. So we're going to do this combat here. Now, I am not shaken, but I didn't win the last round of combat, so I'm just hitting on 4s. I've got 6 attacks, and I am a tough fighter. So that's 4 hits. Not bad, no 3s, so losing the combat made no difference. Let's see what Dan can come back with. He's hitting on 3s because he did win the last round of combat. So he gets 4. So it's 4 saving throws for me. For 4+. I make them all. I am now shaken. And it's 4 of 4+ for Dan as well. So 2 of those go through. So let's see who wins this. Well, Dan did a casualty on me. And he is supported to his flank. I did 2 casualties on Dan, and I'm supported to my flank and rear. So once again, the static res comes in, saves the day. What's this going to mean for the Frenchies? Are they going to stand, or are they going to run? Let's find out. There's no net minuses to this roll, so it's not beyond the wit of man that they could carry on fighting. Let's see. It's a 7. They do indeed carry on fighting. I am also shaken, so I'll need to put a casualty marker on as well. But that is the end of Russian turn 5. I could have brought my guard on. I decided to delay them a turn. That will buy me a victory point. But the Krasiers can come on turn 7. I don't think I'll be delaying those guys. The moving has really bogged down with this combat here. But the Bavarians are outflanking. Let's hope the Russian Hussars can see that and maybe stop it. We had a little bit of shooting. This unit here have shaken in column, 1 dice, firing back at these. Yeah, they got a 6, of course they did. Disordering the Russian battalion, although they did save the hit, so it wasn't necessarily all bad. But let's get into the combats. We've only got 1 to do. It's this one here. Now, I won that one last turn, so I get +1, but I am shaken, so I'm at -1. So I am hitting on 4s. Dan's on 5s. It's Dan's turn, sorry, so Dan gets to roll first. For 3 hits. Oh, they're dying hard, these guys. My guys, hitting on 4s. Ooh, only 1 hit, and they are a tough fighter. So for 2 hits. So 2 saves for Dan of 4+. 1 goes through. 3 for me of 4+. 1 goes through. So now we see who's got the most supports. Well, Dan is supported to both of his flanks. I'm supported to my flank and my rear. So it's actually, even after all of that, still a draw. So because we are both shaken, we both take tests. So we've both got 1 excess casualty. So we're shaken. Tests at -1. Dan, would you like to go first? Dan rolls a 10, which goes down to a 9, so he carries on. I roll a 4, which goes down to a 3, which means I explode. So Dan, do you capture my standard? On a 6 you do? No, a 1. Not only does he not capture it, he doesn't even know what a standard is. Now, I have 2 units supporting. This is when I mentioned earlier on about supporting failure can be a mistake. These guys now need to take break tests as well. This battalion here, 11, they love it. This battalion here, a 9, they love it as well. So I managed to get away with it. It was a little bit lucky though. But as it is, this battalion is now destroyed and the roadblock has been cleared, but it's now the Russians' turn. So not a bad turn from the Rushkies there. The light cavalry moved through the gap onto the road. Now, I actually made a mistake here where I said the Hussars are going to move to the road. Now, these guys are, of course, Jaegers. So I should have said the light cavalry brigade are going to move to the road. So my mistake there. But Dan was willing to let me off, but I said, no, it's my mistake. This battalion here on the road. Yeah, this battalion here on the road, they rallied, so they are now can get back into the fight. These guys blundered, did another left turn, and are now stood in front of the guns here. I am tempted just to open up on them anyway, but there's not a rule for that. So Unfortunately, I'm not going to. So this battalion here is going to fire at those Bavarians. They're at -1, so they need a 5+. -1 because they are Russians. Nope, a 2. That's fine. As to be expected. The Opolcheni are going to keep firing at the Hussars over there. Nope. Again, -1 for being Russian means no dice. Now, the artillery on the hill may change its target because it's currently that infantry battalion are masking the Hussars. So let me just stick my finger in front of the lens there. Professionalism never starts on this channel. Just bear with me 1 second. So I was just checking to see if it was in medium range. It's not yet. So it's 2 from the position battery, 1 from the regular battery, and these are at that battalion of Leger there. So it's going to be 5s to hit. I'll roll that one on top again, although we all know it's a 6. So no hits from the artillery there. So we are going to go straight into combat. Now, the only unit that charged was this unit that charged into there. Dan gets his closing fire, but his troops are shaken. So it's 1 dice hitting me on a 4+. Nope. Now, the Rushkis get 6 dice hitting on 3s for charging. Nope. They are tough fighter. So they get 4 hits altogether. The French attacking back. They're hitting on 5 for being shaken. Oh, they're dying hard. That's 5 hits from the French. I don't know what's going on here. 4 up save for the Rushkis. So 1 of them goes through. Whew. And a 3 up save for the French. So none of those go through. Now the French are supported to both flanks. I am only supported to 1 flank. So I actually lose that combat. And my guys roll a 6, so they fall back 1 move and become disordered. Now it's my turn, so the disorder will come straight back off. So I'll move them back 1 move off camera. Well, that could have gone a lot better, but it could have been a lot worse as well. So let's not.
Surprised.
Yeah, yeah. Let's not get too upset by that. But 5 pluses out of 6 rolls. That's just Dan, isn't it? But there you go. Not the best turn for the Russians. The Guard have stayed off the board for another turn. Let's see, because at the end of the day, they are holding up the French assault, but they have now been pushed back another 12 inches. Let's see the French follow up. Well, that's the end of the French moving, and you can see there was a regiment of Hussars there that were coming under sustained fire from the village. Nothing ever really came of it, but having seen their enemies across the valley turning their back on them, they rolled a 4, was it? To get a 3-move charge all the way down the valley, crossing fire from both sides of this village and from this battalion here, taking no casualties and charging the rear of this battalion here. This is very, very sad times for the Russians, because if these guys lose and break, you could very easily go into the artillery. Really, really sad times for the Russians, this one. Over here, this battalion used its initiative to charge, and I believe the Bavarians they've ordered to charge because they are also lacking initiative. On the right-hand flank for the Russians, the Austrian cavalry have charged, and a unit of Leger have taken up occupation of this church here. So it's now Dan's shooting phase, so let's do some shooty-shoot.
I'll do the 2 shaking shots of that battalion.
Okie dokie, so firing up the road. Yep, these guys are hitting on 5s because they're shaken. Nothing.
I will put... they're facing that way.
Okay, now you move twice, so you're at -1 to hit.
2 shots facing.
No, just 1. Yeah.
Nothing. They are sharpshooters.
Is that the one you want to reroll?
Well, I've only got 1 dice.
You're per facing.
Yeah, I can't really see them.
Okay, fair enough. I said you can, but okay. Yep, he gets hit. It does not get saved, so that one goes through. God, they can have a shot of these guys as well. Yep, so now we are going to the combat phase. So, Dan, it's your turn. Where would you like to start?
We'll get
this infantry mess out of the way first, okay? I've got 1 shot of closing fire, hitting on a 4. Oh, get disordered. Saved. I don't really care about that though. It means that the Bavarians are now hitting on a 4 instead of a 3. So 6 dice from the Bavarians, hitting on 4s. Well, it doesn't make any difference in this combat, so still 4 hits. The Russians fighting back, also hitting on 4s with a tough fighter. So they get 4 hits as well. So this is pretty balanced so far, but Dan has the support. So he's also got the 3+ save as well. So 1 goes through. I need to save all of these or I lose the combat. Oh, it was close. I did take a casualty though. So I'm going to lose the combat. We cause 1 each, but Dan has a support. I pass and carry on fighting. So Dan's just finding a casualty marker. Thank you very much. So I'll pop this. This was my old mum's idea to have the some beads. She was a beader when she was around. So yeah, so she had these red beads. She said, "Oh, you could use these as casualty markers." So that's in in memory of her. So that's coming back down here. So now we've got the Hussars over here. Now we're both hitting on 3s here. No closing fire. So Dan, you get to go first. 6 hits. Typical Dan. And for me, 3 hits. Typical me. I am tough fighter. 4 hits. So Dan now has his saving throws. 2 go through. I've got a save of a 4+. There! I lose 4. So I've lost that combat. Dan is shaken though, so he can't follow up. What happens to my guys? A 6. They fall back 1 move. Now they're going to fall back along the road, which is probably going to take them off the table. We'll measure it and we'll come back in a second. So I forgot about the Russian Hussars have Lancers, but as it is, they're going to be off the table. Now I'm actually going to replace the Leger with the Hussars because the Hussars are better painted. So we'll be back in a second. You'll have seen that the Jaeger on the Horse Jaeger have been removed and the Hussars are still on, but that's just because I've swapped them over because I prefer the Hussar models. So that was the combat over on the right. As I say, the Hussars have gone off the field. We've run out of casualty markers, so I've just put that dice there. That's the casualties they've got. Dan can't advance because he's shaken, so he's decided to stay where he is. In a rather controversial decision, I think. So we've got the combat here. Now I've got some closing fire. These units have been disordering each other for the last 3 turns. Let's see if I can continue. Yay! So it's do you save? Oh yeah, of course I'm in line, aren't I? Yeah, sorry. I can tell I'm a Frenchman. Only 1 hit, but I only need 1. Yeah, it is saved, but they are disordered. So that goes from... I mean, not that it seems to make a difference for you, to be fair, Dan. So that's another casualty. Yeah, not a casualty, just a disorder marker. So 4's to hit. It did make a difference this time. So that's 4 hits. The Russians fighting back, also needing 4s with a tough fighter. Hey, 5 hits from them. So I'll do my saving throws. 1 goes through. 2 go through for Dan. Now Dan is supported to the rear. I'm not sure if I'm supported to the flank or not. It doesn't really matter because Dan would be shaken, so it's a test for him. So on a 6, he's going to fall back 1 move and become disordered. So over here, the Russians decided to follow up because by going through this unit, it's disordered them. The Russians wanted to keep that disorder in place, and they're only going to stand there and get fired at in Dan's next turn before being charged. So I thought it best to go on the front foot and charge in. Now we're doing the combat over here. This is the Hussars into the rear of the Russians. So the Hussars are hitting on 3s. Let's hope they have brought their rubber sabers with them today. They absolutely did not, no. Now the unit of Russians have 6 attacks, but half of their attacks must go forward. Now there's no enemy for them to strike, so they're just wasted basically. So I've got 3 attacks back, and I'm at -1 to hit for being charged in the rear. So that's 1 hit. I am still a tough fighter for 1 hit. So Dan's going to do his save of 4+. Yay! So that's shaken them. So that's saved the artillery, if nothing else. Now it's a -2 for infantry being charged by cavalry. So this is saves of 5+. Here they make 2 but fail 3. So they are definitely defeated in that combat. And on a 4 they explode. Now Dan, I'm going to say, because you charged me in the rear, you've got that extra momentum. So see if you capture my flag. you're going to do it on, normally it's a 6, +1 because you're cavalry, and I'm going to say because you caught me by surprise, you get another +1. No, lame. But the unit is destroyed. Now, there were no support, so I don't need to roll for any of those. Artillery can't support. So that's the end of them, and then it'll be up to Dan to make his post-combat move with the Hussars. There's not really anywhere they can go without moving closer to the enemy. So they're just going to have to kind of stand where they are, I think. So that was the end of French turn 7. I thought we would just do a quick flyover of the battlefield because we've been concentrating on some, on certain areas and maybe not others. So this is looking at the battlefield from the French deployment zone. So let me just crab my way around here. Here we are. So the French had a couple of battalions struggling to get over the ford, but that's okay. The cannons have been raining down fire on the village and the church, so obviously the church one's going to have to change its fire. We can move up, and then Dan's moved up the road. He charged in the centre, and then he's moved around on the left with his Bavarians to try and break through here. The French Leger have taken this church, and there's going to be some fighty here. The Hussars doing a very good job of smashing the Russian Hussars. So that's the battle from the French perspective. Coming around here to the Russians, the hilltop is looking very sparse, very, very sparse. This battalion here has been destroyed, so I should take these off. Luckily, the Hussars have been shaken, so they can't follow up. But this turn, I'm going to definitely roll to bring on my guard. Luckily, I also get to roll to bring on my heavy cavalry. So let's see at the end of the Russian phase how it goes. But that massive humanity in the centre there is looking very scary for the Russians. The only thing that's holding them up really is this battalion and this battalion here, both of whom are shaken, and they really need to get out of the way. But this is why I really like the not interpenetrating rules, because it means that you can't just steamroller your way up the centre. And I say this as a French player. So let's see how it goes with the Russians. It's going to be close. Let's see. Well, a massive turn for the Russians. The Guard infantry turned up and the heavy cavalry turned up. So this hilltop is looking a lot more secure. The Russian infantry charged down the hill. They're going to have another go at this shaken battalion. These guys are carrying on fighting. And the Hussars over here charge the shaken Hussars. I'm hoping that my artillery here can maybe see off these Hussars. Let me find out. It's going to be 2 dice at this range, needing 4s. Of course not. I don't know why I even thought they would. So now I've got these two cannons here. They're going to fire at the building. They're going to need 6s to hit, but they are rolling 4 dice at this range. Nope, nothing. No, well, never mind. I don't think we've got any musketry because these guys have followed up. So they're too far away to fire down the road. Oh yes, 1 shot from the Guard at the Hussars. Thank you, Dan. Which is no good because they are Russians, so they are -1 to hit with their shooting.
And you've got your building that probably shoot and support.
Oh yes, thank you, Dan. Which hits at last. Huzzah! It is safe. So that's all out of the way. Oh, I got the Santa cannon over there as well. That's got 1 shot at the Hussars. I'm no longer enfilading, so it's only 1 dice. It's a hit though. Hey. And he goes through. So jingle bells, everyone. That's 1 hit on the Hussars. So this is from the cannon that's hidden in those woods there. You may remember from the Waterloo film that the Cossacks were equipped with man-packed mortar teams, apparently. So, this is just a little 2-pounder that they come with. The commander has a big beard. He looks like Santa Claus. So that's the end of the Russian shooting. Let's get on with some stabby. And let's start off over here with the Hussars charging the French Hussars. Now, they did go round the building, so they'll get crossing fire from the Leger. So that's a hit, which is not saved. So they've now taken 2 casualties. And fighty, it's my turn, so I get to go first. 6 dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Needing 3s. I am a tough fighter. Now, these guys don't have the lancers that Hussars should have. I rolled too many dice there, haven't I? So 5 hits. And they're fighting back. Now, Hussars are shaken, so they're hitting back on 5s. For 1 hit. So, well, that could be enough to shake me. It's not, but it nearly was. 5 saves back. So 1 goes through. So they lose the combat by 1. They are 1 over their stamina, so this is a test at -1. 6 down to a 5, so they fall back 2 moves. My hussars will be following up, so we will we'll sort that out in a second. So the hussars pushed all the way back here. Now, as Dan pointed out, I should have had 7 dice because I added my general to the combat. My thought being that if the unit gets destroyed, the general's lost all his units anyway, so he may as well go in there and put a bit of sticker out. So it's 7 dice for me, hitting on 3s. Oh dear. For 4 hits. And the hussars, they're obviously concentrating on galloping. The hussars, for the French, hitting back on 5s again.
No, yeah,
just 1 hit.
Now, lost combat. Oh no.
Yeah, still 5s, yeah. And that's saved. 4 go through this time. So this at -4. There's 6, so they only drop back 1 more turn. And, well, those hussars, they did not want to run away at all, did they? My hussars are going to drop back as well. We'll have a look at what happens after we've made the measurements and done all the business. So the hussars have fallen back over the river, disordered, and the Russian hussars have come back behind this forest to save them from those guns there. They are going to still get fired at from the Leger in there, though, so that's a little bit scary, but let's see how it goes. So now we're going to move over into the centre, and we've got the combat against the Bavarians. So I think you won that one last time, didn't you, Dan? Okay. Because I'm awesome. No, it's my turn, isn't it? Yep. So, 4s for the Ruskies. They are tough fighters. Ooh, they're angry. That's 4 hits. Coming back from the French.
4 as well.
Good job, he is disordered. We're both saving on 4s. This is where the Russian stamina doesn't help them, so they've lost 3. The French have lost 1, so the Russians lose that combat. They are 1 over their stamina, so this is at -1. 6 down to a 5, so they're going to fall back 2 moves and become disordered. So the unit falling back 2 moves puts them through this artillery, disordering them and themselves as well. Dan, would you like to follow up with your Bavarians?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty nifty move, especially as it means they won't receive any closing fire from the artillery. They've leapt up the hill, though. They're going to be rather isolated, but you know it's not necessarily the end of the world for them.
It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
This is a new combat, so we'll be doing that next turn. But we do have the fight still down here in the valley. The Russians have charged in here, so they're going to get their 6 dice. Dan looks like he's going to roll them for me. Thank you, Dan. He's put his Dan's luck on there. So, oh, sorry, yeah, you do get closing fire.
Being shaken. Nope.
So Dan's touched these. Let's see if he's rubbed off any of his luck onto them. Yes, he has. Tough fighter. Yee! 6 hits. Thank you, Dan. Fighting back on 5s because the unit is shaken. 2 hits. Oh, that was very close to a Yahtzee there. I don't know if you got one. I think it may have been a Yahtzee. I'll have to look back on the video. Okay. So 2 saves for me on a 3+. Oh, yeah. Gotta love that column. And 3+ for the French. 3 go through. So this is a test at -3. He's already at his stamina. So, yep. 4 goes down to a 1. So they explode. Now, the unit was supported. We'll do that in a second. Do I capture the colours? On a 6, I do. No. So he's got 3 supports.
I'd have 2 supports. They supported the combat.
Okay, so he's got 2 supports. So he's got the unit that's already shaken. They fall back 1 move. Oh, no, they don't. No, they don't. That's fine. And the Bavarians, they're fine as well. So that's the first French unit that's been removed. Whew. And the Russians are going to... I'm not decided yet. We'll come back when I have. So the Russians decided to move back along the road and they stayed there. So the French, despite losing a unit there, they are forcing the Russians back. Now this is a problem for the Russians because as they get forced further back, they're going to have less room to manoeuvre. So we've got the combat over here. So the Russians charge in this end, did they?
Yes. Well, you charged in your reaction.
Oh yes, that's right. Sorry, I didn't know. Thank you. So no closing fire, but they do hit on a 3+. They are a tough fighter. For 4 hits. Yep. 4 hits as well. There. 3 up save for me. 1 goes through. That shakes me.
One goes through for me.
That doesn't shake down. So let's see. So we've taken a casualty each. I am supported to my rear. Dan is supported to his rear, and I would say to his flank as well, actually. Oh no, they supported the other one, didn't they? So that's a draw, but I am shaken, so that's a test for me. And on an 8, they carry on fighting. Yeah. So that's the end of Russian turn 7. A turn of ups and downs. We destroyed our first French battalion, but the Russians have been forced back. There's Bavarians up on the hill against that artillery. There's some cavalry here who can't really do much, but they are a nuisance. And there's a battalion of Leger in the church there. So the walls are definitely closing in on the Russians. There are, however, some things they can do. Their heavy troops have just arrived. There is some hussars over there in the flank. Let's see how Dan deals with the multiple threats while still pushing forward. Well, we checked the rules, and it turns out that with them being disordered, they couldn't follow up and charge. So Dan kept them there, and he's moved them up. For the rest of the moving, the Bavarians over here have turned to their left, and they're going to open up on the hussars there. There's been a little bit of moving around. There was a blunder over there, which sent that column of French infantry into the village. They didn't quite manage to charge, but over here, in the far corner, is something I'm sure Dan's very happy to see, and that is his French heavy cavalry brigade has turned up. So they're coming up. They're going to splish splash through the ford soon. They're going to be getting involved in the action. But before that, we got some shooting. So Dan, who's going to open up first?
We'll do the 3 on the...
Okie dokie. So they need 4 to hit. Or 2 hits and a disorder. So 3 altogether. 2 of them go through. Now that means that they are 1 over. Okay, and they are disordered as well. So we'll pop those for there for now. Okay, so it's 1 shot with a reroll to hits. Nope. Saves that one though. Okay, so they are 1 over and they are disordered. So this is going to be -2 for a 7. I believe they stand where they are, but they are disordered and they are shaken. So what's your next firing to come then, Dan?
I'll do the Bavarians at the...
In the column? Okay, fair enough. 1 shot. Guess the hit. Guess a save.
I'll then do the disorder strength, shooting at this...
Okay, here comes the disorder. Oh, nearly. Tis a hit. It is saved again, just though. It was a good job I went back to column.
I've got the line shooting at the building.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Yes, they hit. I am on a good save. I'm on a 3+ save with them, which is saved. And the Leger.
The lights are going to shoot there as well.
Yep. Are they going to reroll because they are sharpshooter?
Not too bothered today.
No. So.
The Bavarians over there will have a shot at the Cossack.
Okay, I don't know what this is going to be. Yeah. Nope. I think that's it.
That is it.
Does your artillery want to carry on shelling the village?
Yeah.
I'll give you a 6.
Nope.
So that's it. So we're through to the combats now then, are we? So I think we've only got the one left, haven't we? Which is this one over here. You won the last round of combat. So you're normally hitting on 3s, but you are disordered. So hitting on 4s. Yeah, you're not shaken. I am, so I'm hitting you back on 5s. But it's your turn, so you roll first.
For 1.
Okay. And then for me, hitting on 5s. Ooh, I am a tough fighter. 3 hits there. So saves of 4+ for us both. For me, nope, failed. 1 fails for the French as well. So we are supported to the rear. The French are supported to the flank and to the rear. So the French win that one. I am 1 over my stamina. So let's see, -1 here. An 8 goes down to a 7. They carry on fighting. Well, that was it. Not a hugely eventful turn, but the arrival of the heavy cavalry is a bit of a concern. Up here, the Russians are really going to need to start pushing out, or they're going to get caught. And the way we're playing without interpenetration means that they're really going to be in a lot of trouble. So we'll see how that goes as we go into Russian turn 8. I think we're in now. So the Russians have charged down the road into the Bavarians. They've had a little bit of jiggery-pokery here. Basically, the cavalry units have gone through the infantry units, which disorders both the cavalry and the infantry. Now, I did my artillery fire. the precision battery fired at those Bavarians in an enfilade and caused caused one casualty and disordered them. So that was quite a tasty shot. Now we've got some. Have we got any more musketry? Yeah, we've got over here. We've got the hussars who are fronting up the cannons over there. So I'll have 2 shots from the cannons, 1 from the guard. So we'll do the cannons first. I get a hit and a disorder. She's not saved.
Take it.
And okay, you take it instantly. Okay. It is -1 because they're 1 over. So a 4, they are destroyed. Those hussars are Oskis, as the Russians probably would say. Now we've got the Opolcheny in the village. They're going to fire at those guys who charged at them with 2 casualties on them. Let's see if I can take that 3rd one. Oh, it's thought about being a 6, but it changed his mind and ended up being a 2. So that's the shooting. We're going to clear away some troops, and then we will be back with the close combat phase. So we're going into the combat phase now. The Russians charge down the hill towards Bavarians, who do their closing fire. I roll a 2, so no good there. Now the Russians get 6 attacks. They're hitting on 3s because they charged. They are tough fighters. They are iconoclasts, but it doesn't matter. They managed to hit the 4th time. Get those out of the way. The French attacking back the Bavarians attacking back for 2 hits. So the Russians, they save 2. The Bavarians fail to, so 1 excess. So that is a victory for the Russians. This is a test at -1 for the Bavarians. A 6, they fall back 1 move, and the Russians will follow up. So success there, the Russians have followed up. I think this is going to be a lot less successful. The fight continues. Now the Austrians won the last round of combat, so they... sorry, not the Austrians, the French won the last round. I saw the Habsburg dice there. So they're hitting on 3s normally, -1 because they are still disordered. So they're hitting on 4s.
3.
3 hits, not bad. The Rushkis are normally hitting on 4s, so -1 because they are shaken. So they're hitting on 5s. Ooh, none. They are tough fighters, though. Nope, still none. How many hits did you do, Dan? Sorry? 3. So 3 saves of 4+. 1 goes through. Again, they lose the combat. This is going to be a test at -1. It's an 8 down to a 7. They carry on fighting. These Archangel troops, they obviously breed them hard up there because these guys are not giving ground at all. So that is the end of Russian turn 8, is that? Or 9? Russian turn... Sorry, Dan?
Turn 8.
Turn 8, okay. So we are going to have 2 more turns each, and then we're going to finally decide on a winner. But I would say even if the Russians collapse and get defeated here, I think they've held up the French for a significant amount of time. But let's see how it goes as the French go into their penultimate turn, and turn 9. So the French have moved forward their heavy brigades, and there's not a huge amount happened in the centre here. The French have assaulted the village. That's going to be worth some VPs at the end of the game. So that's why Dan's going there now. He may have left it too late, though. Okay, he's got some shooting to do now. So who's shooting at who, Dan?
So we'll do the building.
Yep.
The hussars.
Okay, they are going to be enfilading, so they get to re-roll a miss. They re-roll a miss anyway because they're leger, so that is indeed a hit. I'm going to have to borrow one of Dan's dice. I didn't bring any with me. Yay, Dan's dice always work. So, the Bavarians in front of them, they are disordered, so they're firing here for 1 more hit. I'm going to use this dice again. This is a good one. Ah, Dan, your dice suck. So that shot goes through. This is going to be a break test at -1 for those hussars. It's a 5 down to a 4, so that breaks them. They are gone. So the light cavalry brigades have fortitude to a standstill, although the French are still on the field.
And then I've got a Bavarian shot
At the Cossacks, okay? Nah, they're in cover. Okie dokie. So we'll remove those in the end phase. Don't worry about that. Even though I really like their unit. No, well, never mind. So okay, so we're going to do some hand-to-hand fight. So what? I'm just going to come around here to grab some dice. Which one are we doing first, Dan?
We'll do the one where I'm shaken here.
Okay.
You charge me.
So I am hitting on a 3. The Bavarians are going to be hitting back on a 5. So Bavarians go first because it's your turn, Dan.
Do I have to choose who I support? So I've got multiple options.
Yes.
Okay. I'll do the flank for the bigger combat.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. The ones against the Archangel Musketeers, yeah? Yep, fine.
So 5 for
Ooh,
3 hits.
the Bavarians are fighting hard, man. Rushki's fighting back, hitting on 3s. With a tough fighter. So that's 5 hits. Sorry, Dan, how many times did you hit me? 3. So if you want to do saves?
Is it a new combat or is it?
No, it's a continuing. Yeah. Oh, save them all. Tasty. So the Russians, 2 go through, which doesn't shake them, but it does make them lose the combat. So this test is a straight test, no minuses here. A 6, they fall back 1 move. So we'll move those back, and then we'll do the video of the other combat. So now we move on to the other combat. So the French are hitting on 4s. They won the combat last round, but they're still disordered. Oh, that's a great roll, though. 5 hits there. The Russians are hitting back on 5s because they are shaken. They are still tough fighters, though, however shaken they are. Only 2 hits there. So 5 saving throws of 4+. 3 go through. Dear, it's not looking good for them.
1 goes through.
1 goes through. So this test at -3 for the Russians because they have lost this combat. Ooh! It's a 9 down to a 6, so they do not break. So they're going to fall back. They are going to disorder the troops behind them, so that's going to be a problem in my turn. They're not going to be able to do anything. But they're going to fall back, and they're going to be in front of this cavalry here. That's true, yeah. So, having cleared that central combat, sort of, there's still the 1st Battalion that they've got to fight next. We go over to the building in the Opolcheny. Now, they get some closing fire as they come in, so they're hitting on a 4 this time. Nope, 2 is definitely not what they're hitting on. And they're going to... Dan, you're going to roll your 6 attacks first.
2.
For 2 hits. And I've got 2 attacks back for 1 hit. Oh, I'm not sure if they are tough fighter.
You're in the village. So you get your tough fighter for the...
Oh, yes, sorry, yeah, that's right. I get my priest reroll, thank you, Dan. It does not do anything this turn, though. Hey! And how did you hit me twice, didn't you? So, I'm on a 3+ with the militia. Not quite the 2+ that you normally have. And that's a 2, so 1 of them goes through. And the other one was a 5, Dan. So, Dan, the Frenchies do lose that combat. Now, there is no risk of capturing the enemy's colours in this. If the enemy does break, they wouldn't be daft enough to take the colours into the streets with them. They don't break, but they do fall back and disorder those Bavarians behind them. But it doesn't really matter because the disorder is going to come off at the end of this turn anyway. So that's the end of French turn 9. We're going to move into Russian turn 9. Now, this is going to be not the turn that I envisaged. I was planning on this guy, the general ordering a follow me order and then flank charging those Bavarians over there in the wheat field. But that's not going to happen now. So let's see what the Russians can make up on the fly. So now we come to it for some Russian shooting. Now the Dragoons tried to move left and then into that gap there. They blundered, burst through the Archangel troops, which means that they are now double disordered and the Dragoons are themselves disordered. The Guard, however, they managed to advance forward, although I don't think they're going to be in range to support those troops there. But we've got quite a lot of firepower to come, so let's see how it goes. I'm going to start off with this battery over here. They're in medium range of that French battalion in front of the 1st Battalion of Archangel troops. I am shooting overhead, so this is going to be hitting on 5s. It's a hit. So this is -2 to the save, so it goes through, and that is going to be a test at -1, I'm afraid, Dan.
Which unit is it?
This unit here.
6.
7, 6, so they drop back. Oh, no, they don't from shooting, they stay where they are. So, actually, I probably should have waited, because I'm going to fire at them with that unit in front of them as well. But that's my mistake. So they're hitting on 5s for 1 hit, which is a disorder. And that goes through as well, but it's ignored, it's just they're disordered. I've got one shot from this column here into the Bavarians. They keep failing to defeat at close combat. Now they are disordered, so they're going to need a 5 to hit. Oof, they certainly don't need a 1. I've got some artillery batteries here. Now they're not going to be able to fire at the flank of those guys anymore. The hussars you can see on the screen, they're actually dead. I forgot to take those off. So it's going to be 2 shots from the position battery. And I'm just going to measure and see if it's 1 or 2 shots from the other one. Bear with me. So they're just out of range. So it's going to be 1 shot from that cannon. And these are going to be hitting on 5. 6s are, of course, disorder. So that's 1-6, which is a disorder. -1 to the saving throw, because it's at long range. Sorry, on this battalion here. So it does go through. And they are running for the hills. So that's the 2nd battalion that the Russians have seen off. Hoo-jah, at last. I think that's it for shooting now. I don't think I've got any more. I think maybe the guard... Oh, sorry, no. I've got the peasants in the village. They are hitting on a 5. They could actually shake that unit in front of them. No, 2 they can't. And we've got the Santa cannon in the far distance to shoot at the hussars, which misses as well. Oh, poor. So that is the end of Russian turn 9. Shockingly, there are no close combats. So we're going to clean up the table. I'm going to get rid of those Russian hussars. And then we're going to get into the final French turn, turn 10. Okay, so here we are with the French firing for their final turn, turn 10. We're going to start with the Bavarians firing up the hill at the Russians. 1 shot then. To 3, so no good. So he's got the battalion in deep line. So 2 shots from them. And they're firing at the Archangel troops in front of them. Oh, double 1, oh dear.
The Leger in the building.
Yep.
Firing at the lead unit.
Yep, okay.
3.
They are sharpshooters, but they miss. Well, they've missed every shot this game, haven't they? Dear.
And then the Bavarians here will have 1 shot.
Oh, yep. They're going to miss as well. Oh dear, well, not very good for the French firing from this turn. They have assaulted... Oh, yep, yeah, the one recently rallied. This is going to be it. Nope. So, I was trying to big it up for you, sorry, man.
You know what happens when you big it up.
That's why I do it, right? So now we've got the assault on the village. Now the poor peasants inside get to fire their blunderbusses as they come in. So, flame a template, please, Dan. No, it doesn't work that way. 1 shot. Oh dear, on a 1, I think they've blown the blunderbusses up, I think. So the Bavarians, they have 6 attacks. They are hitting on 4s, 3s. Oh, blimey. The Opolcheni get 2 attacks back. For just one, no hits so far. Priest reroll. Yeah, that's 1 hit from the priest. Yeah, he's an angry priest. I got 6 saves back though of 3+. 2 fail this time.
It's 6+, no, it's 3+, isn't it?
Yeah. Nearly a Yahtzee as well. Now the Opolcheni get +3 for being in a building, so they win that combat. So do the Bavarians run away? Like the scared little girls they are.
They're not a draw because I've got 2 supports.
I think that second unit's probably a little bit too far away to support. Go on, see what you get. See if it matters. Nah, it doesn't matter. You carried on fighting anyway. So, if the Bavarians had run away and exploded, we probably would have said that's not the case. It seems a little bit silly that an attacking unit can be completely wiped out by defenders. That doesn't sound very plausible to me. But there we go. That is the end of the French final turn. What are the Russians going to do? I think I'm just going to pass all my troops. I think they're just going to sit on the hill and not do anything. Nah, don't be daft. Of course they're not. Join me at the end of Russian moving to see what insanity I can come up with. So the Russians, of course, they haven't just stood there and done nothing. They've charged down the hill. The Krasiers tried to charge the Bavarians, but they formed square. The 1st Battalion of the Archangel Regiment have charged that unit of French infantry. They are shaken, so that's quite handy for them. The Guard tried to charge the infantry on the road. They did make it on a 6, being in column. That was enough. Oh, actually, +1 for charging. So they do make it. Yay! So they get to go in. So they were too far away from the general, so that was -1. But I just remembered, being Russians, they get +1 for charging. So that's that's lol-tastic. I'll move those guys in a second. We've got some shooting to do. Well, that rather stymies that artillery's target. So I guess they're not going to shoot at anyone. The artillery up on the hill, they're going to fire down at the Carabiniers. So let's see if I can kill some of those guys. Let's zoom out on the tray here. So they need 5s. Nope, nothing. Added together, I get a 5. I think that's pretty much it.
You got a battalion that can shoot forwards.
Oh, yes, the Carabiniers. Let's have a go with that. Oh, it's a disorder. You love it. Thank you, Dan. 3-up save, though, on the Carabiniers. It is saved. They are disordered just for the lulz. So we're going to move the guard into combat with that French battalion. I've completely forgotten about the +1 for charging when you're Russians. So that's super made my day. Let's get the Santa cannon going as well. I forgot about that. Let's see if that can get a kill. A 5, it's a hit. The Hussars. It goes through as well. Hey, go Santa. -1 because it's artillery. But that's the end of shooting. That doesn't really make any difference. It's just a bit of fun. And let's come back when we get to the combat. So we've only got 2 combats to do for the Russian final turn here. We've got the Archangel Musketeers charging down the hill. They are going to have some closing fire, though. At least the enemy are shaken, so they're hitting me on 5s for 1 hit, which is not saved. That one goes through. So they've got 2. There you go, they've taken a hit. So they get 6 attacks. Hitting on 3s with Tough Fighter. So that's 6 hits. Happy with that. And the French... Yep, because they are shaken, so the French are hitting on 5s. 3 hits, so they're dying tough. 3+ save for the Ruskies. Yay.
4+ because you're in line.
4+ for the Ruskies, so they take another hit.
4+ for me as well. 4-1.
Oh, so that's 1 each. So the Russians are supported to the flank. The French are supported to the rear. So it's going to be a draw. So that's going to be a test for Dan, because he is over his stamina.
Yep.
They explode. Do I capture the colour? The sport loves it, yeah. Do I capture the colour, though? No, not on a 1. So my dozy Russians, they don't this time. Ooh, oh boy. Just leave them there for now, Dan. It'll be alright. Because we're coming around to the main event. The Russian Guard have charged the flank of that French infantry battalion. So it's 7 dice for a Russian Guard. They are Elite 3+, which is super tidy. They are Tough Fighter. So Elite 3+ doesn't matter, but the Tough Fighter absolutely does. Hitting on 3s. Tough Fighter, yeah. So that's 6 hits from the Guard. Now the French are fighting back. They've normally got 6 attacks, but half of them have to go forward. So they are hitting with 3 dice, -1, so that's 1 hit. So do the Russians save it? They do. Do the French save it? 1 goes through.
4 goes through. So I'm in the flank, aren't I?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Ugh. Okay, so that's going to be a test for that French battalion. Will they break and run? There's no supports for them. So it's just them on their own.
Yep, they explode.
They do explode. Do the Guard capture their colours? No, I thought about it for a while. Now, there's not really much that the Grenadiers, the Guard, can do there. They can't follow up into another combat. So we've got the combat in the village to do, though. It's alright, just leave them there, Dan. This is the last.
Bounce off. I have to charge it back in, don't I?
Say again?
I've got to charge back in because I bounce off.
No, carry on fighting. Yeah. Now, this is a change I've made in the rules pack. If you are assaulting a building and you win a round of combat, although Dan didn't do in this case, the enemy no longer get their defensive bonus because the idea is that you've now broken into the building. So I'm just going to have 2 dice here. 2 hits though. 4 back. So it's a 3+ save for my guys. They've normally got a 5+, so they get +2, but that only takes it to a 3-up. So they pass them. Space Marine saves. See you later. 1 goes through. So do they explode? Nah, they love it. So that is going to be the end of the game. We're going to remove the broken units. and then we'll come back for a final review of the battlefield. So we have reached the end of the game. We've done all the tidying up. We've got rid of the this sort of markers, sort of, and this is the final standing of the battlefield. So in the centre, we still have some heavy French columns. These guys are shaken. These guys are nearly shaken. These two are as yet untouched. The Bavarians in square and line there. Now they're quite safe, the Bavarians. There's some heavy French cavalry coming in. But the Russians moved a unit down the hill. They'll be forming a square and hopefully blocking the progress of that cavalry. The Russians, on the other hand, they're quite strong up here on the hill. They've got 3 battalions, although 2 of them are very badly mauled. They do have a large battalion of Pavlovsky Grenadiers. They've got these guys here who are really in trouble. And I didn't move these guys back, but in reality, they would have moved back to form line here. And then that would have allowed a second line for the Russians to be created. Although that would have left the Dragoons hanging a little bit in the breeze. But they could perhaps have gone in and forced the surviving French into square. So that's it. That's the end of the game. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we pointed out some new tactics and ideas to you there. I think the Russians were... Yes, oh yeah, sorry, yeah, we did calculate the VPs, I should say that. It ended up being 16-15 to the Russians, because the Russians kept their guard off the table for an extra 2 turns. And that final galloping charge that they did swung the battle in our favour. And the stamina 4, yeah. The Russian stamina 4 cannot be underestimated. It is very, very strong. But the Russians do have a lot of limitations. And I think in this battle, the Russians were helped by being able to stay together, whereas the French became a little bit strung out. And I think it was difficult for Dan to get through his own troops once they were shaken, because he packed so close together in the centre there, which is, I mean, you've got to pack close together to get the supports. But I hope you guys have enjoyed that game. As I say, I hope you've learned something. Maybe you've got questions, leave them down in the comments below. But that was our all-day club game. It's taken us about 6 hours. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that. And we'll see you guys next time.